Hey everyone, I hope you are well today. You got myself, Chris, on my Kmackchannel channel today. I wanted to talk a little bit about football, especially Liverpool. We've got a game coming up in the next hour against Karlsruhe, which is some lower division team in Germany, and we've got them at our training camp, which is in the middle of nowhere in Germany. Which is interesting. And some major news is the fact that Jordan Henderson isn't going to be in the squad. That's all you need to know. That is all you need to know. Henderson is going. There's no way David Ornstein or Melissa Reddy would report that if that wasn't happening. And let's be honest, he's put himself into a situation where there's no turning back, really. Apparently, El Hal or El Al Hat or whatever the team's called in the middle of nowhere in Saudi Arabia. Apparently, they've applied for some funding from the government or the state government, which will probably pay for Jordan Henderson's transfer, and it's probably going to be around 10 million. So we're going to get 10 million for a player who cost us 16 million 13 years ago. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm very pleased with that. Big up Jordan and big up for the correction. It's called El Etifak, if I said that right. Big up Redbird. Okay, I won't smile. I kind of lost it a bit that day, but there you go. It is what it is. What I did want to talk about is I actually wanted to kind of touch on Lucio, especially Luis Diaz, with the news that's come out that one of the Saudi Arabian clubs, I think it's El Had, I can't remember now. There's so many Saudi Arabian clubs that sound like that. The ones which have got Ruben Neves and Savic, who are both under the age of 27 and went to that club for a huge amount of money, 50 million plus each of them. They're looking at signing Luis Diaz. I know there's been a bit of a meltdown, and I know a lot of people aren't happy about it. But if we just look at the dynamics, okay, we've got a Saudi Arabian club who's got the best players, who are signing the most expensive players, who are also signing the players that are under the age of 30. Okay, that team's probably going to win the league. Okay, they're looking at a South American. South Americans do make crazy moves. There's been a lot of South Americans that went to China. There's been a lot of South Americans that played in Japan. There's a lot of South Americans that play in Dubai. So it's not out of the ordinary. The South Americans move. And you also have to look at life-changing money, because that's what's being quoted. Life-changing money. Jordan Henderson is about to move to a Saudi Arabian club for life-changing money. You've also got Fabinho, who's left, who's moving for life-changing money. You really don't think Luis Diaz will move for life-changing money? Luis Diaz is on roughly the same amount of money as the Scouse, the Greek Scouser, Shimikas. Guys and girls, don't be surprised if Luis Diaz leaves the club for a huge amount of money. Like, I'm sorry, but if we get an offer of 80 million, even 75, I genuinely believe that it will be looked at and it may well be accepted, because we bought him for 46 and we haven't even paid a third of that off yet, because we were paying in installments. It could happen. It could happen. He's on £2 million a year. wages at Liverpool. He's a low-paid player. He's only on a little bit more than Harvey Elliott in the grand scheme of things. Seriously, if he gets a £10 million a year offer, he will think about it because he's a South American player who's nearly 27. It could definitely happen. Guys and girls, Saudi Arabia are turning heads. And also the agent of Luis Diaz is also an agent of a player that's at that club. I can't remember his name, but there's an Argentine player there which is at that club, which has the same agent as Luis Diaz. And they could well have had conversations. I know he's been given the number 7 shirt, and I know we're all expecting miracles from him next year. But that is also a place in the team where we are stacked. We are stacked on the left side. We just are. Okay, I'm going to name a bunch of players that can all play in his position. Okay, and he still has to fight for his place to play. By the way, he's not a first teamer. He's got to fight for his place. So you got Luis Diaz, you got Gakpo, which is his natural position, yeah, which is where he played for PSV as a captain for a number of years. He only played up front for Holland, and that's why we started playing him up front. So you got Diaz, Gakpo, Nunes, Dominic Szoboszlai. He plays on the left wing for his country as a captain. Okay, you've then got Curtis Jones. His natural position's the left wing. You've then got Ben Doak, who can play left and right. You know, this guy's there. You've got Diogo Jota. You know, you've got Harvey Elliott can play there. He played there last season. Guys and girls, that position is absolutely stacked. Alexis McAllister played there for Argentina. We have plenty of players that can play on the left wing. Luis Diaz is not a guaranteed starter next season. He goes to Saudi Arabia, he is, and he's going to earn mega bucks. Okay, I'm just saying. He's just come back from a really bad injury as well. I'm just saying. Nobody thought Ruben Neves was going to go there. Nobody thought Savic was going to go there, but they did. Don't be surprised if an 80, 75, 80 million pound bid comes in. Don't be surprised if Liverpool accept that and invest that in the team, because we need other players. We need a central midfielder who can play central midfielder or DM. We also need a centre back on the left hand side as cover for Virgil van Dijk, and also if he can play in the Robinson position. And we also need right back cover. Guys and girls, we've got issues all over the park, but not on the left wing. If Diaz goes, we got plenty. We have got plenty of players that can cover him. If Jota went, we've got plenty of players that can cover him up front. Okay, these are not the areas that we need to look at, and these are areas where if big money comes in for players, we will genuinely look at them. Because if we're not, then we're stupid. Because if we can get 80 million for Diaz and we can invest that in a Florentino Luis, or we can invest that in a Caicedo, or we can invest that in a Colwell or an Asio, you know, if we can invest that into a Lavia, then I'm sorry, but we have to look at these options. These options are all available. Okay, so what I'm going to do today, I'm going to bring up some stats which I brought up on Quasi's show yesterday. And I think they're really, really interesting. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple of shout outs while I'm here though. Okay. Big up Anfield Raw. Big up Albert. I know you don't want Lucio to go. I don't want Lucio to go either, but I'm just talking. I'm just talking about what, you know, the variables, you know, what is there, what could happen. Big up Gary. Big up Redbird. Okay. So, right, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring up a couple of slides. Okay, right. Okay, so what I'm showing here now is I am showing a screenshot of, oh, I'm not showing a screenshot. I am showing a screenshot. Okay, I'm showing a screenshot of Rodri. Okay, so if we all look at the ideal player to play in our midfield as a DM is Rodri. He is the benchmark. He is the best DM in the world for me by a country mile. Like, he is leaps and bounds above many central midfielders DMs. He kind of sits in the area where Fabinho sat in the 2018-2020 seasons. He was top percentile in pretty much everything. Okay, he was an absolute monster, destroyer. He did everything. He scores goals, provides assists, he breaks up play. No one gets past him. Okay, he is the benchmark. I'm just going to do a couple more shout outs. A couple more people have jumped in. Big up Psychedelic Warrior. I'm going to talk about that as well. Psychedelic Warrior. I'm quite excited about that. That's hilarious, Sal. That is hilarious. That's hilarious. Okay. So if we look at Rodri, yeah, what we want to be looking at really is we want to be looking at these areas here, because these are the areas which is really important as a DM. And also this area here, which is ball recoveries. Okay, so you've got ball recoveries, aerial duels, passing, pressured passes, which means that he's got a player coming at him and he's got to get the ball out. Deep progressions, not so much, which means that, you know, a player moving into the opposition's area, it's not really a necessity. Interceptions is really important. And then also opposition ball recoveries is really important. Okay. So this is Rodri. All right. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you Fabinho. Where's Fabinho? Can you still see my screen? No, you can't. Okay. Let me stop that. Right. I've got to get. Where is he? Let me just find him. I had everything set up before, and now I've lost it. Where's Fab gone? Oh, he was there already. Okay. Right. Okay, so Fab is here. Okay. Let me just make that a bit bigger so we can all see. Okay. Right. So what I've got here now is I've got Fabinho. Okay, so this is, oh, you can't see it properly. Okay. Right. Let me spread the screen. Can you see it better there? Yeah, okay, great. Okay. Right. So this is Fabinho from 2018 up until 2020. This is on the left-hand side. Okay. Now, if you look at the Rodri numbers, which were all around here, he is basically the benchmark of the player that you want as a DM. Okay. Fabinho is just as good ball recoveries. He's just as good opposition half ball recoveries and also interceptions. He's absolutely fantastic at that. He's not as good as pressured passing, and aerial wins. He's not as good in those areas, considering he's such a big guy as well. But he's not as good as Rodri. Okay. So this is kind of the benchmark that we want. We want a player that sits in the sweet spot as a Fabinho does. There's no point buying a DM or a midfielder to replace Fabinho if he hasn't got Fabinho's qualities. Okay, If you can't do what Fabinho does, what is the point in signing one? That's the question I ask. And I'm going to go through quite a few players which we've been linked with, and to basically show you it's not them. Okay, it's not going to be them because of some of the things I'm going to show you. Now, I've done a bit of research on this because I've watched a couple of videos by other podcasters, and I've noticed some of the numbers in that, and it's kind of made me go, I probably need to look into this a bit more, who we're looking at, because we are looking at so many different types of players. Okay, so we want to be looking at these areas: aerial wins, passing, pressured passes, interceptions, ball recoveries, and opposition half ball recoveries. Okay, so we want to have a lot of red around this area here to match Fabinho. And if you look at the blue is the league average. So it shows that he is by far the best in the top three DMs, central midfielders in the league, which is the Premier League. Okay. Now, let's look at a player that I've talked about today on the chat, which is Florentino Luis. Okay, Fabinho is 20. It was 26 when he was doing these numbers. Okay, you can see the massive drop off this year here when he's 29. There's a huge disparity in what he achieved then to what he achieved now. Florentino Luis is 23 now, and he is hitting numbers. Let's make no bones about it. He is hitting numbers which are Rodri numbers. Rodri's just won the treble. Okay, Rodri has just won the treble. He's probably just had the season of his life. Florentino Luis is number one in his league, and he's 23. These are the numbers that are a player that we have to sign to replace Fabinho. There's no doubt. Like, you just look at the red areas. This guy has absolutely everything. He has absolutely everything. I mean, it's really, really hard not to just go, right, okay, we're looking for a Fabinho, yeah, and we're looking for a Rodri. There you go. He's there. He is right there, and he is available. We've done deals with this club before. Every player's got a price at Benfica. Every player has a price at Benfica. You know, Enzo Fernandez was going nowhere, and he still left. Guys and girls, this is your guy. He is your next Rodri. If Man City don't sign him to replace Rodri, then then they haven't got a scouting team that's doing the work properly. And I know that they will. If we don't get this guy this year or next year, then he's going to Man City. Like, it's all the numbers add up. A little bit more information about Luis if you don't know about him. He's 23 years old. He did a loan in Getafe in Spain, not last year, the year before, and the year before that he was on loan at Monaco. So the guy can play in different continents as well. He can play different types of football. He's progressed all the way from the under 15s all the way up until the under 21s for Portugal as well. So he's now on the next step to make the national team. I think he's been picked and he's been on the bench, but he just hasn't played. So that is the one which hits all the numbers. He's played over 175 games in his career. He's played Champions League football. He's played the lot, and he can also play as a right back as well. Okay, so he can do right back. He can also go into defence. He's played as a central defender as well. He's very, very versatile. The only problem I've got with him is he's not fantastic in the air. But if you look at Fabinho, he's got exactly the same aerial stats as him in his peak. So, you know what I mean? It's not an issue. It wasn't an issue with him. Okay, so I said all I need to about Florentino Luis. Like, he may cost 70 million, and we may be able to do a deal with add-ons and all of that kind of stuff, like we did with Darwin Núñez. I wouldn't be surprised if we could. Melissa Reddy mentioned his name yesterday, and I don't think she was meant to mention his name, because she was talking about all of the other midfielders that we've been linked with, which I'm going to show you in a minute. All the other clag, because they are clag, and they're not good enough for Liverpool. Calvin Phillips isn't good enough for Liverpool. He's not good enough for Man City. Can barely get off the bench. Like, he's not good enough for Liverpool. Okay, he's just come off really bad injury as well. He's not good enough for Liverpool. Gravenberch, not good enough for Liverpool. Another player we're linked with. Lavia's a project. I'll show you Lavia's stats in a minute. Okay, so she brought out all of those names, and then she said Florentino Luis at the end. You know, there ain't smoke without fire. I genuinely believe he is the guy. If we haven't got a scouting team that's looking at him, then we're mad. Because we were there last season, sorry, your season before, looking at Enzo Fernandez. We had teams there looking at Núñez. They must have been looking at Florentino Luis as well, going, Jesus, this guy, this is the next Rodri. Okay, I've spoke all I have about him. Okay, next, we're going to move on to another player. Okay, let me just do a couple more shout outs, answer some questions. Right, who we got? Go out and get Rodri then. Fair enough. We got. We could get like 70 million for Diaz. I think we could get 70 million. Big up Kismet. Yeah, I know Thiago's not involved as well. It's an interesting one, that, isn't it? Because Thiago's linked with a move away as well. So who knows, eh? But I think Thiago's probably still not fit enough. He's never fit, is he? Yeah, McAllister's fantastic. Luis, I think Luis has got a release clause for 120 million euros, but you know, so did Enzo Fernandez. But Enzo Fernandez was like an Argentine World Cup winner. Like, that's why Chelsea paid 105 million for him. But for me, we could get him for 70, I reckon. What we got? Szoboszlai. You know how I feel about Szoboszlai. I've been talking about him for a long time. Who we got? Big up, Jared. Big up. Any more questions in here? No. Okay. Right. Okay. So I'm going to bring up a couple of other players we've been linked with as well, and these are interesting, these stats, because I didn't actually expect some of these stats to be the way they were. So I'm going to bring up a couple of others now. Okay. So one of them is, I'm going to bring up Thiago's. All right, because at the end of the day, if we're going to play a player that we've already got, for example, in the position of Fabinho, then Thiago makes sense because he's done that role before. Now, if you look at Thiago's stats, so this is from 2020 all the way through to 2023 at Liverpool. You know, he's not so bad in the air, to be fair, but he recovers the ball. He does a lot of the things which Fabinho does. And if we've got a fit Thiago, I have no dramas with him playing in that position, because if you look at the stats, they're pretty similar, and he's a better passer, so he's better at pressured passes and also deep progressions. You know, he's not so good at aerial duels. That's an issue. But I'm going to show you some other players in a minute. and aerial duels don't seem to be their forte either. So finding a DM that's good in the air is pretty difficult, by the way. That's why Rodri is the benchmark. So that's a fair point. You know, if we haven't got the money to get a DM as good as Fabinho, then a Thiago is definitely a player that could play. Like for me, I haven't got an issue there. My only issue is he's never fit. Yeah, he is a good player. He really is. Like, okay, so I thought I'd show Thiago. Next, I will bring up another player. This guy. Okay, that was Rodri. Sorry, I've got so many things open. Sorry, I'm a bit unprepared on my screen. I can't see the actual screens. Okay, so another another player that is a potential player that could play in that position as well is a Curtis Jones. He's a guy that we've got in the team. He kind of played like a deep midfield role in the under-21s, and as you can see, against the league average, he's pretty good. Like, his defensive actions are really high. All of this here is better than some of the players we've already got. Like, look, these two areas here are absolutely brilliant. He's better than Thiago at passing. Like, you wouldn't even contemplate that with Curtis Jones. But he's better at Thiago than passing. He just doesn't win a lot of duels in the air. He just doesn't. It's an interesting one. Finding that player as a DM that can win the ball in the air seems to be a hard thing. And deep progressions, he doesn't do a lot. He doesn't do a lot of turnovers. There's areas there which are an issue. So for me, I don't think Curtis Jones would be an option, just looking at the stats. But then again, he didn't play in a position where he was doing that. So we're looking at stats from someone that played much further up. But this does make it interesting that he has a lot of capabilities around the defensive area here, which if you put him into into a position where he does have to win the ball in the air, he's 6'1". There's no reason why he probably can't win more aerial duels. Probably didn't win many aerial duels because he didn't have to. That's just an interesting one. He's only 22 as well, so there's a lot of positives there. So that's Kurt. I agree. Fitness is a problem. I don't know. Like, I would say South American players would be interested. Players that are on less wages would be interested. I think that's also something we need to look at. The only problem with Jones is his flow. Yeah, I know he is. I think he's improved that. I also think if he's playing in a deeper position, then he might be better with his flow because he needs to release the ball much quicker. So he might automatically work harder on that. Okay, so I'm going to bring up a couple of players that we've been linked with. One of them's Kone. Kone's not that good in a lot of areas. So he concerns me. He doesn't have any turnovers. Doesn't win the ball at all in the air. Loses all his aerial duels. His passing's not great. His pressured passes aren't great, and you're going to need that in a Liverpool midfield. There's no interceptions whatsoever. No ball recoveries. He doesn't win the ball in the opposition half. For me, those numbers are a little bit worrying. If we're going to get him to play a DM, I don't think he's good enough. So I would count Kone out for me, and that's probably why we're not continuing with the Kone train. Okay, so that's another one which is interesting, and I thought I'd show you that. Then we've got this guy. Okay, this guy's dreadful. Okay, I'm sorry. He's not even average in his own league in Italy. So anyone who's raving about Tino Coopermayers, like I don't know what player you're seeing, because he is dreadful. These numbers are shocking. Like, they're just shocking. The only thing that he's decent at is he wins a few headers. When he wins a few headers, because I think he's like 6'4", isn't he? But he is awful at passing. Like we can't sign a player who can't pass the ball at Liverpool, and we can't sign a player for Liverpool who can't pass the ball under pressure. like they are the two key factors that you need when coming to Liverpool Football Club. You need to be able to pass, and you need to be able to pass the ball when you're under pressure. And he can't do any of that, and he does nothing. Like, he's a DM. He plays as a DM. Like, I don't know what he's doing. Like, his stats are awful. Okay, so guys, that's an interesting one. People talking about him. I don't know what guy you're watching. Fair enough. I'm going to bring up Amrabat as well, actually, Kismet, and you'll be surprised. Okay, so Tino Coopermayers is a big fat no for me, and he's also really slow. He is really slow. Okay. Next one, Kefren Thuram. Okay, so this guy has potential. Okay, he has potential. He has quite a bit of defensive actions. He's pretty good under pressure. You know, he's a little bit ifs and buts. Like, he does quite a bit average in the areas that we need, which are passing, pressured passes, deep progressions, aerial wins. But he's really not good at ball recoveries, regains, opposition. What's that say? Opposition ball recovery. Sorry. You know, he's a little bit like Kone. Like, you know, at the end of the day, we're searching around for this guy. Yeah, we're searching around for this guy who we're going to spend like 50 million on, this guy who's going to fit into this position that we need for Fabinho. Curtis Jones is better than all of them so far. Like, and we've got him. So we got Thiago, who's better than anyone else we've brought up apart from Florentino Luis and Rodri. And Curtis Jones ticks all the boxes in a number of other areas. So we've actually got two of the players that can fit in that position in the squad already. So, you know, we're looking at all of these guys, and we've got better guys in our team already. So I'm just saying, like, it's an interesting thing to look at. Exactly. It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. So I'm going to bring up a couple more. I'm going to bring up an obvious one in a minute. Okay, so this is Amrabat. He is really, really good. Like, he's really good, but he's not very good in the air. And he's also not very good at interceptions and ball recoveries. But he's good at passing, pressured passes, defensive actions, ball recoveries in the opposition area, pressure regains. He ticks a lot of boxes, guys. You know, he is a guy that could do the job. He really is. Like, if we could get him for as cheap as they're talking, which is 25 million, maybe 30 million, that is definitely a player that's worth taking a look at. The only issue is he's 26, and I don't know what his injury record's like. And if you're looking at a bite-sized version against his league average doesn't look great. Like, as in, the league average for Italy doesn't look great. but he stands out quite well in a number of areas. The heading's an issue, but you know, if you look at a lot of other players that I'm going to go through, heading seems to be an issue with a lot of people. Amrabat is definitely someone I'd look at. So I've got Florentino Luis as my number one, and I've got Sofran Amrabat as a number, I would say number 5. I would say Thiago's number 2. I would say Tyler Adams is probably number 3, which I'm going to look at in a bit. Then you've got Caicedo, number 4, and then you've got Amrabat, number 5 for me. But I'm going to go through Tyler Adams and Caicedo in a minute. Okay. Now, I brought this up. Okay. So this, I talked about this on yesterday's show and Quasi's show. Oh, hang on. I've just closed it. Where is it? Okay, there it is. Okay. So, interesting. So what I looked at was, I looked at Caicedo and I looked at Yves Bissouma because basically Yves Bissouma was the previous Caicedo at Brighton. Now, Yves Bissouma left Brighton and went to Tottenham and fell off a cliff. Okay. And I wanted to look at how they fared against each other at Brighton. Now, I did this because if Caicedo leaves, there is a very high possibility that he could fall off a cliff as well, because Bissouma was ripping up trees when he was at Brighton as well. And it all depends on who they play with and how they play in midfield. Now, the deciding factor between both of them was they both played with McAllister. Now, if we got Caicedo, we've already got McAllister, so that could be a plug and play. However, if Caicedo went to another club, you don't know whether he's going to drop off like Bissouma did, because his stats match straight up. Like, the only difference is Caicedo wins a lot of headers. like he is a 97th percentile in the league at headers for a DM. That's insane. That is just insane how good he is. Anyway, I thought I'd bring that up. And you're looking at Bissouma and you're looking at Caicedo. Bissouma costs like 25 million for Tottenham. Caicedo's going to cost like 80, 90 million. Like, and he's had one good season. I really think it's risky. Okay. So he comes as number 4 for me. And number 3 would be Tyler Adams. Okay. Now, if you look at Tyler Adams doesn't have a huge amount of deep progressions, pressured passes, and also passing here. But I do put that down a lot to the team that he played with. Remember, he's playing with a Bielsa team. He's playing with Leeds that are like fighting relegation. Like, who's he passing it to? Like, he could literally just be clearing the ball. So he could be winning the ball back, getting a recovery, getting a regain, and then just kicking it out for a throw, because like it was a chance that was going in behind. So he's done all of his work brilliantly, but this area here, he just hasn't got the personnel to pass to, or he hasn't got the right players around him. I think if you put him in a Liverpool team, that makes a difference. It really does. Just going to look at some of the chats. Speed. Who do you mean speed on? Kimmich. I've got Kimmich's info here. Think about Kimmich. Kimmich is on like 300 grand a week. Jared, like, he's never coming to Liverpool. We're never going to pay him. We're not going to pay him that money. And I think he's too much like Trent. If we're looking at playing Trent in midfield, which we will today, where does Kimmich go? Like Kimmich isn't gonna go right back, and I think Trent's gonna want to be right midfield now. I think it's an interesting one. We'll see. The interesting one today is it looks like he's playing 4-3-3 again, which is crazy because I thought he was going to try the 3-4-3, but looks like he's gone 4-3-3. So Tyler Adams is an interesting one. He's in a relegated Leeds. He's available probably for maybe 25 million, maybe 30 million. I think he's an absolute bargain. He's fantastic. Like he's got better heading stats than Fabinho. Like he's quite short as well, but I think Tyler Adams is an absolute steal. I really do. He'll be on like 100 grand. Like he's 24. Like just think about this. If we sign Florentino Luis and Tyler Adams, they compensate each other. Like all of this, Luis is brilliant at. All of this, Tyler Adams is brilliant at. They complement each other. Like you could easily have Luis as DM and Adams as the other midfielder in the pivot. They would be fantastic. They would be absolutely fantastic. I think that's an interesting one. Amrabat's slow. Yeah. Okay, so my picks are 100% Florentino Luis, Tyler Adams, and then you're looking at a Thiago because we've already got him. And then I probably would go for a Caicedo. And that would and then maybe Lavia at the end because Lavia is a project. I'm going to show you Lavia as well. Have we got any more left? Which one was that I just shared? That's Amrabat. Was that Adams? That was Caicedo. Sorry. I got mixed up with all the screens. Okay, that one. That's Thiago. Okay. Right, I need to bring up another screen. Sorry for this. I need to get rid of all of these. Okay, I've got Lavia on the screen. Why can't I see Lavia? Why can't I see Lavia? I don't know why I can't see Lavia. Sorry, I've just got a couple more to bring up. There he is. Okay. Right. Sorry about that. I had to find a couple more that I've got on the screen. Okay, so who's that? Oh, for God's sake, why is Kone still coming up? Sorry. Bear with me a sec. I've got loads of screens. But I can't seem to find the ones which I've got up. Why aren't you showing? Okay, Caicedo. I don't know where the Caicedo one is. Get rid of you. I don't know why I can't see any of my screen. I've got all the tabs open. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. Right, okay. Ah, okay. Can we see them now? Okay, right. Okay, so I've got Gravenberch. So if you look at Gravenberch is quite interesting because Yeah, because he covers a lot of areas which fit Liverpool. So deep progressions, pressured passes, passing. His aerial wins isn't bad. His opposition ball recoveries are good. His interceptions are good. His tackles are good. Like, we've got quite a small sample size of him, but I can understand why we are looking at him. Like, he does tick quite a few boxes for us. So it's a really interesting one. And if we could get him for a small price, like 30 million, he's definitely an option. He's definitely a squad option. So the Gravenberch one was an interesting one for me to look at. Big up, Jared. I've had loads of people leave the feed because I was trying to find the windows. Sorry, everyone. This one's an interesting one. So this guy is the one we've been linked with recently, which is the Trinidad one, which is the Brazilian. He's absolutely incredible at passing, but he's absolutely dreadful at heading. So for me, I don't think he's good enough. Not yet, anyway. But he's already 22. Like, I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's a player that would work at Liverpool for me. Not for me, anyway. He's not the guy for me. Next one I'll look at. Actually, where the hell is he? Oh, so annoying, this. Okay, next one is Kimmich. Kimmich ticks all the boxes. Like, Kimmich is a big player. Like, he does a lot of stuff that we require. He's not very good in the air. Like, he doesn't win any duels, really, which is pretty poor. Not many defensive actions. Also, his passing's not as good as I thought it was. However, all the other areas, he's absolutely fantastic. He would cost, I don't know, 60 million, and then he's on 250 to 300 grand a week for a 28-year-old. Not for me. Not for me. And Klopp can't work with world-class players because he can't get them to change, because they're already set in their ways. And he's not gonna move a team around to fit them in like Pep does. Like Pep did it with De Bruyne. Pep did it with Haaland. He moved the teams around to fit the players' styles. I don't think he'd do the same with Kimmich. And where are you going to play Kimmich? Is he going to play right back? Is he going to play pivot? He's going to be fighting for a position with Trent. I can't see it. Can't see it. Next up, I'm going to show you Lavia, because this is the one that everyone's raving about, and I'm not really sure why. I know we've got a small sample size, but is that a £50 million player? Like, he's the middle of everything. He's just he's basically average in every aspect. For me, he's not the guy. He's a project, but you want to pay 50 million for a project when you pay an extra 20 million and you get yourselves a ready-made Rodri Fabinho replacement in Florentino Luis. I don't think he's the guy. If you're paying 30 million for him and you're okay to play him half a season and you slowly bring him in, then yeah. But to play him as a first team player for 50 million, I think that's a risk. I don't think he fits what we're after. Nothing here. There's nothing here that really jumps out at me. It's bang average. And then last but not least, I have got this guy who everyone keeps on talking about in the chat, who for me is a good option. He's a good option. He is a good option that could work. He's got plenty of experience. He's played in Champions League. He's played in Europa League. I think he's played in the Europa League final as well. He's really good at ball recoveries, really good at recovering the ball in half, good at tackling, standard at headering, but fine. Passing could work, could do a bit better, but depends on the team that he's in. You know, he's bang average in those areas, but that could be worked on. You know, he stands out in his league. If he's achievable for like 35 million, that's a guy we should definitely look at as well. Yeah, so that was just a little. Who moves like a truck? Was that Sanger or was that Amrabat? I know we're all going to tune in and watch the football now, which will be great. It's going to be interesting not seeing Henderson there because that's just done and dusted now. I want to give you get more context on Fabinho as well. So Fabinho's decision wasn't just based on money. Okay, it was based on the fact that he would have stayed at Liverpool longer and not accepted this offer if he was still in the international team. But because he's now been left out in the cold for a number of years, probably I think it's like a year and a half, he's been out of the international team. He's decided that he's not going to get that chance again, and he's going to move to Saudi Arabia to look after his family. And it's more of a family decision and a investment decision. But he would have stayed at Liverpool longer if he'd have still been in the international team. That's the reports. Okay. Henderson is purely a money. It's a money move. It's a money move. He can get 50% more on his wages. His contract's up for renewal in 2 years. He was probably wasn't going to get one. You know, he can get 350 grand, maybe 400 grand a week. 700 grand's just ridiculous. But for me, it's going to be interesting watching this game today, which starts in about 10 minutes. And I hope we all enjoy it, and I hope we all watch it and just analyze, you know, the things to come. You know, this isn't going to be a great team that we play. I'm interested to see our defence, and I'm interested to see our midfield. The attack we never had an issue with. It's defence and the midfield. Also, what's interesting as well is the guy that we've got as a sub goalkeeper. He's a Polish under-21 international. He is an option to play as backup to Alisson next year, by the way. He is a very good goalkeeper. Make no bones about it. He's a very good goalkeeper. He's a Polish under-21. He's close to the international team. I would not be surprised if Kelleher got sold. He would be our backup. And I'd be okay with it because he's a really good goalkeeper. Seriously, just watch that one. It's an interesting one. And also Connor Bradley, I'm quite intrigued to see him because I'm still a bit confused why Ramsey went out on loan when he was the replacement for Trent or the backup for Trent, if Trent was going to move into midfield. So I'm a bit confused there. Maybe it's Bradley and maybe it's Gomez as backup, you know, next season. You know, maybe it is Gomez as right back next season and we're going to play Trent in midfield. I don't know. I just don't know what we're going to do. The formation is going to be interesting second half as well, because if you look at some of the subs, Canada doesn't tally up. So that'll be interesting to look at that. You know, Curtis Jones and also Harvey Elliott aren't in the team. Henderson's not on the team. Thiago's not on the team. Morton's not on the team. There's quite a few players that aren't in the team. So that's going to be interesting. And I hope you all enjoy the game today. and I hope you enjoyed that little deep dive, just looking at defensive midfielders, because, and also a little bit more about transfer news. You know, the Tyler Adams thing, I'd love it if we got Tyler Adams. The fact that we're already in negotiations with Leeds for Nat Phillips, that's like 10 million we could probably get off the Adams deal by throwing in Nat Phillips, because they want Nat Phillips. So that would be interesting. Maybe we're going to pull a rabbit out of the hat with a midfielder. I really hope it's Luiz. I'm also really, really taken by Inacio. I think Inacio is the guy. All roads lead to those Portugal international players for me. I think they've got incredible sell-on value in the future. They've got a brilliant shelf life. They've all got great injury records. Portuguese players are just phenomenal right now. You know, if we could get Inacio on his release clause, which is 39 million, I think that's a great deal. And then Florentino Luiz, he will cost 60, 70 million probably, but I still think that's a fantastic deal. You've looked at the numbers. I'm going to go now because I'm going to find a feed and watch the game myself now. But big up everyone that's tuned in, and if you are in the chat and you haven't subscribed, please do. I've just hit over 100, which is fantastic considering I only started this weeks ago. And I will do a call-in show, I think, maybe tomorrow, and maybe talk about the game a bit more and upcoming games and transfers and stuff, and maybe get a couple of people involved as well. But today I just wanted to talk a little bit about Lucio and also about our DM conundrum. I might do a bit of a deep dive on left backs, and right backs tomorrow. Okay. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you on Thursday. All right. Enjoy the game. Big up the Reds.